What is up? This is the Leafs Convo presented by Oakridge Ford, oakridgeford.com. I'm Norman James along with Mike Jello. It is October 3rd, 2019, the day after the Leafs season opener, a 5-3 win over the Capital Gang, the Ottawa Senators at Scotiabank Arena. Michael, what were your impressions?
Good morning, Norman. Well, my impressions were it was not the start that the Leafs wanted, giving up a goal 25 seconds into the first period. And that took everybody sort of aback after the ceremonies announcing John Tavares as the next captain of the Leafs. But it took him a while to sort of right the ship because even Mike Babcock said after the game, they scored the goal. We had 3 power play opportunities. We sort of were flailing around for the first period. I mean, they had 10 shots on goal in the first 8 minutes and couldn't beat Craig Anderson. And then they get the tying goal from the unlikely source of Frederic Gauthier. And then the power play kicks into gear. Trevor Moore scores a really nice goal, and then they're off to the races. And the key to the game in terms of a turning point was of course, the former Leaf show where like every former Leaf has to get on the scoreboard or do something that's detrimental to the team. Tyler Ennis took a penalty, so he was on the scoreboard that way. And Connor Brown assisted on Brady Tkachuk's goal. But Ron Hainsey scoring that goal and the Leafs video staff noticing that Bobby Ryan was offside by not even a stride, but by the lifting of his skate, and that negated Hainsey's goal. And Matthews scored right after it to make it 3-2. Leafs. That was the key, because once that happened, I think that deflated the young Senators team, and they were off to the races.
This is the Leafs Convo podcast for Oakridge Ford. Over under on Freddie Gauthier scoring the curtain raiser. Who thought he would be the one to bring the house down to get the season going?
Well, I said I sort of joked. I said, I'll give you 1,000,000-to-1 odds if Gauthier scores the first goal, and I said, uh-oh, and it's just, I mean. It's not that I don't like Gauthier. He's a good kid and he tries hard. I just and I think he is the player that he is now as compared to the player that they drafted in 2013 is night and day. It's leaps and bounds different. He's a much better skater than he was. I just look at him as a zero offensive player. And of course yesterday he scores the opening goal, but I'd be challenged to say he scores more than 5 goals this year if he plays regularly on the fourth line. But Mike Babcock loves him. And as we've seen with other players, that sometimes is more important than talent.
Yeah, no doubt. My wife made some coffee this morning. She's a sweetheart. She put out my Maple Leaf coffee mug, and on the back of it, it had Jason Spezza's name with a line through it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Mike Babcock knows how to destroy good stories and narratives, because Jason Spezza appeared at the end of training camp to have solidified a fourth line position, either on the wing with Gauthier playing center or playing fourth line center. And then I'm at the morning skate yesterday, and we're noticing Nick Shore, who I was surprised that he was still on the 23-man roster when the cuts were made earlier in the week, skating between Gauthier and Dmytro Timashov. And then we discovered that Spezza is not going to play. In the opening game, a Toronto boy who's played 16 years in the NHL, who there is no reason other than, I think, the fact that Mike Babcock didn't have a hand in his acquisition, and I don't know if we're going down the Frankie Corrado, Josh Levo, Justin Hall road with Jason Spezza. I mean, because Babcock after the morning skate came out and said, he's going to play on Friday, and the reason that he didn't play on Wednesday was because he had to work on his penalty killing. Come on. I mean, yeah, don't. There's an expression about something hitting your shoulder and don't tell me it's raining. That's That's what I mean. Come on. I mean, Jason Spezza is not there to be a penalty killer. Now, maybe they have to use him as a penalty killer as the fourth line guy, but that's not the reason why he shouldn't play. If he didn't play well, then he shouldn't have played. And this is Babcock exerting control over the roster and saying, I'm going to play the guys I want to play when I want to play them. And the only way I can send a message to everybody on that team is to throw a guy like Spezza, who didn't do anything other than try hard during the preseason, and try to give the coach what he wanted.
Oh my God.
Throw him under the bus.
I don't get Babcock. In Detroit, this is the guy who's angling to get Luke Glendening on the team because of the great things he did for him when he was in Detroit. So what happened to this affection and affinity and respect and reliance on veterans yesterday? Jason Spezza is a story, Mike, as you said, 16 years in the league, drafted by the Senators, Toronto boy, all of the ingredients for another nice element to the overall story are there, and he doesn't play him. You could have brought Eric Lindros back to play a ceremonial few shifts against the Senators yesterday. It wouldn't have mattered. It's not as if Jason Spezza being in the lineup was going to affect the game one way or the other. And he doesn't play him. OGs, converts, you know me. You know I love Mike Babcock, but you know I will turn on that guy in 2 seconds if he just starts to go off the rails. Because I'm all about the Leafs, not Leafs. I'm about the team success, not individual or coaching success. And that was just, I can forgive it, but you're going to store that up in the memory banks. And when this becomes a lingering issue of one instance after another, it's compounded, and then you just had enough, right, Mike? It seems to me now this Babcock versus Dubas thing, this Cold War, isn't going anywhere.
No, this battle between Babcock and Dubas eventually is going somewhere, because I believe Dubas has the hammer in terms of if this team doesn't do well this year, that Babcock will be out of a job. I don't think I'm stepping out of line by saying that, but that being said, I don't think they're concerned about that right now. It's it's petty.
Yeah,
it really
no doubt.
is petty, and we've seen this in the history with the Leafs, with Babcock, with Lou Lamoriello, and now with Kyle Dubas. He's going to play who he wants to play, and the guys that he has a hand in bringing in to the team, like Patrick Marleau, those are his favorites, and he will play them and possibly overplay them. And the guys who he is spoon-fed or forced to use, he refuses to use, or he'll use them in roles that are sort of demeaning for their talent. So I don't know. I mean, let's see how it plays out. I know Pierre LeBrun said yesterday that this is maybe much ado about nothing, and we'll see what happens with Spezza. But I know that a lot of people, and the prevailing opinion was this was Babcock, playing mind games.
Oh my God!
And that this is something that Spezza is going to have to deal with. Babcock says he's going to rotate the fourth line guys. And I know yesterday they said after the game, Nick Patan was in the Leafs scratches in the press box, or in the Leafs box. So there may be some roster moves in terms of sending down to the Marlies and calling up, and that means more of a mix. But Jason Spezza should have played yesterday, and I think it was disrespectful.
Yeah, Mike, I'm not about hating the coach, nor are you. It was disappointing. Let's go through a couple of things before we wrap up here. Austin Matthews, 2 goals. That's 4 straight openers. He scored goals, I think, versus the Senators over the last several years. He scored 100,000 goals in season openers. He looks like he's ready and motivated. Will he stay healthy for an entire season and score 45 to 50? I hope so. John Tavares, the new captain, with an assist, just doing John Tavares stuff, working hard. Mitch Marner, that pass to Austin Matthews on the power play. Come on, man. Like that's the magic that we want from Mitch and should certainly expect.
Matthews was great last night. He just seems to love playing Ottawa. I think if he could play Ottawa 82 games, he'd probably score over 70 goals. Now that that's a fact that Ottawa has not been a good team for
Hmm.
most of the time he's been in the NHL, but you pile up the stats against the bad teams.
Sure.
That's what good star players do. He was fantastic last night, and that you could see that he's worked on his one timer over the summer because on that goal with the Marner feed, it was a one timer that he blasted by Anderson. He looked quick. He looked really
Hmm.
solid. That's encouraging, and yeah, I think all Leaf fans are keeping their fingers crossed that he doesn't get injured. Um, I think Tavares was the not no brainer choice, but a great choice. And I asked Kyle Dubas, he held a press conference after the first period, whether Tavares being a captain in Long Island was a factor in the decision because he had leadership experience before, and he said no, but I mean it didn't hurt.
Yeah.
So, but I think they just realized he's a little bit older. He's been a captain before. He's a solid player, a calm demeanor, and he can handle the media. He's handled the media well in a year
Sure.
with the Leafs. So I think that was a great choice. Or Morgan Riley would have been an excellent choice. And apparently they said that the incident with Austin Matthews was not a
Yeah.
factor in the
Good.
decision. That the decision was made much
Yeah.
earlier.
No one's exempt from criticism, but I think there's a certain understanding between him and the fan base that he has a pass because we know how hard he's worked. We know how well he's done. We know what kind of guy he is. I mean, he's the quiet captain. He's going to do his thing. Austin Matthews is going to be the de facto leader of the team in many ways in terms of being out there, being the fashionable guy, just having all the skill in the world. There's room for more leaders than one. I think ceremonially giving John Tavares the C was the right thing to do, Mike. Tyson Barrie, 2 assists. He looked pretty good out there. And I got to tell you, he is certainly a nice off spell to what Morgan Riley does. And I'm not saying that they're different types of players, but it's nice to have more than one of Morgan Riley back there, but of that stature, as opposed to some of these guys who look like they're really good, but have more deficiencies in their game. I'm just going through um, the stats from last night's game. Trevor Moore with a goal. Ilya Mikheyev, that was a nice little goal on the Tyson Barrie feed, his first NHL goal, and Dmitry Timashov with an assist as well. Nice to see some of the young cats getting on the
Yeah,
board.
yeah. First Mikheyev I thought was really impressive. He was on the penalty kill. He for a big guy, he's got a lot of speed. After the game, it was really funny. He was interviewed, and he doesn't speak a lot of English. He was trying to speak, and he was trying to communicate. They were just asking him questions about what he enjoyed about being in North America after the years in the KHL, and he started
Everything.
talking about his favorite food. His favorite food is right. His favorite food is soup. His favorite food is favorite soup is borscht. This is good. He just seemed like a good kid who was very happy to be there. But he's a player that Babcock had a hand in bringing in, and they're giving him a really big opportunity playing with Kerfoot and Moore,
Yeah.
and Babcock liked that one. Timashov, played well. Rasmus Sandin played well, but only 8 minutes and I think it was 28
Mm-hmm.
seconds. Um, and Nylander with the nice pass on the Matthews goal to make it 3-2. So it was a
Sure.
good team effort. Um, I have to say though, and people didn't notice him. Cody Ceci played 22 minutes, did not make many mistakes. It was,
Perfect.
and if they get that out of him playing with Riley, playing heavy minutes and not making a lot of mistakes, people are going to say that was a good acquisition because he
The
played pretty
best way
well.
for Cody Ceci to succeed with the Maple Leafs is to make it like we don't even know he's there, but he is. That's that's
Yeah.
that's the perfect process for this kid, and that's what the Maple Leafs need. There are many stars in this Leafs team, Mike. You know that the Leafs are dependent upon these stars shining every single night in different codes and different ways. You're going to have a different combination of stars shining on any given night, and at the end of the day, it should be a 100+ point season. Lots of fun. Let's hope a lot of these guys stay healthy for their own sake, not just ours. Looking also at the stat line, though, there is a familiarity with last year. The Maple Leafs 1 for 5 on the power play. They could certainly do better. We know they outshoot teams all day, but face-offs, they were beaten pretty good. Hits, they got clobbered. Blocks, they're not in the same league as the other team. And giveaways, they gave away the puck more. So what this stat line tells me, because I'm just so incredibly gifted and all-knowing when it comes to stats, but it's true. I mean, they're much better than the Ottawa Senators, but the Senators worked a lot harder.
Yeah, and the Senators had a new coach, and I'm sure that impressing that new coach was a factor in that sort of hyped up performance. And a lot of ex-Leafs playing against their former team, but they limited Ottawa to 23 shots, and limiting the workload in terms of shots on goal on Freddie Anderson is a key this year. If they're going to insist on playing him 60 games, which I think ideally they'd like to not do that, but I think eventually that'll continue to happen. They have to limit the shots on goal. He can't be a goalie who plays 60 games and faces 40 shots a night. But yeah, and you have to factor in the enthusiasm after one win to say that is Ottawa. That is one of the worst and one of the youngest teams in the league. So you can't base the at times dominant performance in the second half of the game on the fact that the Leafs are that great. They're a good team. It wasn't a perfect performance, and we'll see how they do against Columbus on Friday
I know you're
night.
really excited for the Habs opener tonight. The wait is over, Mike.
Oh yeah.
On you press.
Yeah, I'm enthused.
That's it. That'll wrap it. This is the Leafs Convo for Oakridge Ford. Oakridgeford.com. Employee pricing is over. However, interest rates have dropped. Get in and grab your 2019 Ford vehicle, and we'll give you an unbelievable deal on it. It's so great that we have a new sponsor in Oakridge Ford, Mike. Can you just talk a little bit about what a sponsorship means to a podcast like this? Because I know that you've dealt with sponsors and supporters of your Hockey Buzz column, one of the best in hockey, by the way. But having a sponsor and having that monetization aspect of what we do here, because we do put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into just creating product.
Well, I mean, honestly, I think it means that you're rewarded for your hard work, and I'm very appreciative of Oakridge Ford backing the show, because this is something that you and I have had a passion to do over the years, and it's nice to sort of have that recognition that somebody sees the quality in our work and wants to be associated with. So I thank them.
That's going to be a lot of fun, and we're just getting started. Michael, have a great day. Get some rest. Looking forward to Leafs Blue Jackets from Columbus on Friday. And then, of course, Leafs Habs. Talk to you later, buddy.
Thanks, Norm.